Hey everyone, so I wanted to show you how we can use while loops with our scanners, with Scanner, and I created this little project. So right now we have a scanner and we're calling it scanner, and it's equal to a new scanner coming from the console window. So the scanner is a reference to our new scanner. And then we're creating a string right here called input, and it's just being able to empty string. So then we're saying while input is not equal to quit, we're going to print out this, and then we're going to update our input. And whenever we update our input here, has to do with scope. But basically, because this scope is outside this block right here, we're able to update it and it'll stay updated. We'll learn more about this in the next video. I'll explain it more in depth how scope works in Java. But basically, just know that we're updating our input using this value of our scanner.next, which of course you know is just going to grab the next word, and then we're going to print out your input was, and then whatever input was. So this is going to basically loop over it and keep scanning, and then of course we close our scanner at the end. So one thing you might notice with this program, I created the scanner on the outside. We could create it on the inside, and then close it on the inside if we wanted to. But this is unnecessarily creating the scanner repeatedly every single time in the while loop. So just because you might want to, you can create things outside and then put them on the inside. Again, that has to do with scope. We will learn that more in the next video. So I'm going to run this program and we're going to see what happens. So let's try typing in H, and you'll see it says your input was H. Let's try typing in a number. Same thing. We could type in a word. What happens if we type in a few words? You can see this has done something very interesting. So we typed in your space name, and it says your input was your, and then it says please enter your input was name. So basically what's happening here is this is running twice because there were two things inside of this input, and that's basically making the scanner um, behave kind of oddly. So to fix this behavior, we could use scanner.nextLine, and that would make it so that it parses the spaces correctly. So we could do your name, input was your name. So now that fixed that behavior, but you're going to see we also have another problem with our program. So let's try typing in hello. Let's try typing in quit and see if this checkup here works. So of course, my input was quit, so whenever it checks here, it should be going okay. Input was equal to quit, so that means this condition is not true. It should break out, but it doesn't. And this is for something, and I actually was messed up by this because I was trying to create this program and I messed myself up with this. So the way you gotta fix this right here is basically when we're doing this not equals, and I get confused by this myself, like I just said, this is checking if the reference of this object, because strings are reference types, is not equal to basically this string object. And they're not going to be the same reference. So even if they refer to the same value, the references are not the same. And so that's the reason why this equality check is failing. This is a confusing concept to get sometimes, but in order to compare strings, you instead use input dot equals quit, and I'm going to need to negate that with the not operator. So this is a boolean, and then I'm negating it with the not. So now our input should work correctly. So let's try this. We type in A, we type in B, we type in 3, we type in quit, and that quit our program. So there's another problem we can fix. This one I'm not going to really demonstrate, but let's say our user had typed in quit with all caps. We can set it to lowercase, um, dot to lowercase, this one, and that is going to make it so that even if the user types it in caps, it's going to basically convert the input to lowercase. This will also make it so that anything else will go to lowercase, which might be what they want. In this case, we're just going to say that is. So basically, if you type quit in all caps, it'll still go, but let's say I typed in an H, it's also going to make it H, lowercase h right here. But maybe that's where we wanted it. So I don't know, let's say input in lowercase was. Okay, so this program right here, it makes sense, but the other problem we have is that, let's say we type in our quit, it still prints it out before ending our program right here and giving us our new prompt right here. It still prints out this. That's probably not what we want. So that's where a new concept is going to come in, This is the break and continue, and this is not entirely new. You might have remembered this before. Whenever we were doing our switch statements, we use break to break out early from our switch statement. So you can do that exact same concept inside of a while loop. So let's try that right now. So before we print out the input onto the screen, we'll say if input dot equals quit, we want to break. Let's try this out now. And you're going to see if we type in quit, it doesn't print that out onto the screen anymore. And that would work with the capitalized version too. Now, one thing that's fun about this is that this equality check is now entirely useless because this is causing us to break out of the loop. So we could just type in while true up here to make that, of course, infinitely looping thing like we've done before. And this will have the exact same type of functionality. So now I want to show you how we could use continue. So let's say if a user wanted to skip a value, I'm getting my spacing a little bit messed up here. Okay, there we go. So if input equals pass, not break, we're going to want to continue, just like that. Apparently I can't spell equals, so we'll do it just like that. And now, let's say we're doing our code. We type in D5 pass. It doesn't do it, it just gives us another prompt. But if we type in P, it gives us that. Quit just quits out, and it doesn't give us any extra prompts. One other thing we might want to do to change this program just a little bit is we could say your input was, and then here we could say input dot to lowercase. Of course, don't forget those. Dot to lowercase. So this is saying our input, it's creating a new string to lowercase, and if it's saying if that new string has a value equal to quit, and same thing here. So now we can use capital letters. Yeah, if they have a value equal to quit, it'll do those two things. So H, and now it keeps our case. So we can still type quit in either case, but our input is always going to be, it's going to keep the case. So that's just how we can use these break and continue keywords. So what this continue word does, just to reiterate, continue skips everything below and goes back to the top of the loop. Break just breaks out of the loop and exits immediately. So whenever you're using this while true, you must have a break inside of it, or else this is going to be an infinitely repeating loop. So you want to make sure, like, see if so you can see up here that this knows right here, like, this code will never reach because you don't have a break inside of it. So you got to make sure you have breaks inside of your while loops, or else you have infinitely repeating code, unless that's your goal, is to make something repeat forever. So be careful with the while loops, make sure you break out of them, and yeah. And then continue will of course just skip to the next iteration. They're both very useful words, keywords, and they can be used in more cases than just these. You can also use them with for loops. Um, and yeah, so, and do while loops. So yeah, these can be very useful keywords, and I hope you found this useful.